Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 55. We got a prospect preview for you guys tonight. We're brought to you by Dynasty Theory in partnership with Dynasty Daddy, and as always, Fantasy Football Infinity. And the thing I just realized today that I never ever say is please like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Dynasty Theory has also moved to Thursday nights at 9 p.m. If you guys are looking for them, they're no longer in their Tuesday slots. They got the Discord. Most of it's free. All the good stuff you got to pay for. If you want to get in there, DM one of us.
What kind of good stuff we talking about, Ron?
Dynasty Theory After Dark, baby. Only Dan's. Anyway, we got McSpanky and Holler with me tonight. How is it going, guys?
Good, man. How's it going?
Great. It is great. Going. Doing well. The Senior Bowl is popping off.
Oh, yeah. Timeline's blowing up on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody's great. Fun. Everybody's great right now. The best player they've ever seen.
Yep. It's fun. I enjoy it. I just take it all in and we go from there. Unfortunately, I feel like there's too much stuff coming out that I can't find my Puka this year. You know, I'm like, everyone's going to know about my Puka.
It's Roman Wilson.
Disappointed. Yeah. I don't know. See, we just told everybody now.
Or is it Lad McConkey?
Definitely not Lad because he's
why not? Why can't it be Lad?
He's going too high.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna go early second, late first, probably early second.
I've seen pretty consistently top 50.
Yeah, so that's too high. So like I said, I'm worried. They're everyone's talking about all these wide receivers. I don't know if I'm gonna find myself a Puka. I gotta dive deep into the bag.
That's what makes Puka special. Is he's not an every year thing.
Yeah, he's the one and only Puka. I can't remember where I had it, but there was somebody that had Lad, Roman Wilson, and
Malachi
Corley all in a tier together, and then below that tier they had Xavier Leggett and Tez Walker for the big fast guys that are. I kind of agree with.
I don't think that's crazy.
Here or there. I'm starting to just be like, if you can't run routes, I don't want anything to do with you.
Agreed.
We'll get into Leggett when we cover him.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say let's.
But I like
can have a couple different
Lord.
shows on wide receivers. There's so many this year.
Yeah, a lot of shows. We've got a lot of time up until not a lot of time, but enough time, I think, to get all of them in. Should we pop into the news here a little bit?
Let's pulp it.
All right. Just popping off. Cash rolls everything around me. Steelers hire Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator, and this is big news for who?
Running backs, I would say. The running backs.
List them off. Calvin Austin, Connor Hayward, and is Anthony McFarland still around in Pittsburgh?
I think
that's
so.
the name that
probably in for a big year with Arthur Smith.
Yeah, that's the name that popped into my head when I read the show notes. I was like, third string running back. Yeah, I think that's McFarland. But all jokes aside, I do think I personally don't think Arthur Smith is a head coach. I don't know what I don't know what he did wrong, but he did a lot of things wrong in Atlanta. But he ran a good offense in Tennessee. Obviously, he had a really good running back at the time, but I do think he can run a solid offense. I think he had too much going on as a head coach, so it'll be interesting. Steelers really need a new quarterback overall. I think Pickett's not it.
Yes.
So I think that's another huge thing. But I do think it's good for both of those running backs, right? I think they're both under contract still. I think they're going to kind of both be good flex plays, right? Neither of them are, your really good solid running back twos. I think they're kind of a little bit below that. So they're solid flex. If you're going to, depending on how you build your team, right? If you're going to kind of skip out on, if you go really hard at wide receiver, I think Najee could be a solid guy in the middle rounds, 8, 9, 10 rounds if he falls that far. I think this is good for the running backs.
For sure. I think it's good for the running backs. I think, but I mean, the part of the problem with Arthur Smith is that when he didn't have a quarterback, and I mean, say what you will about Ryan Tannehill, but Tannehill actually played pretty good. And he had an AJ Brown. When he didn't have that in Atlanta, the offense all of a sudden wasn't working. It's easy to run a good offense when you have one of the best wide receivers and best running backs to run through in the league. He doesn't exactly have a overwhelming, talent of, like skill players in Pittsburgh. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it's good for Warren and Najee. I'm curious to see how George Pickens fits into this offense and if he has any more diva milk sideline. So
I saw so many jokes
weeks
like
of Mac Hollins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw so many jokes that he's going to be the next, Antonio Brown running off the field and things like that. So I could totally see it. I've always been off Pickens. He's just a boomer bust guy for me. So, and then there's Deontay Johnson who gets a lot of targets, but he's no AJ Brown, that's for sure. So I feel like Spanky, I feel like you hit it right on the head. That no quarterback really, no star, wide receiver. So it's going to be still tough for that offense.
Mm-hmm. So Mason Rudolph is a free agent for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you think that they bring Mason Rudolph back? Because I believe Tomlin has said that they want to bring in competition for Kenny Pickett.
I don't think Mason Rudolph is the answer.
No, agreed.
Sure.
So
he's obviously competition for Kenny Pickett, though, since he supplanted him as the starter by the end of the year.
That's the thing. It's like if you want like a real quarterback competition and they bring him back, then it's kind of like an artificial competition.
Sure.
If they bring in someone like, I don't know, like Gardner Minshew or like maybe a big, honestly, maybe Tannehill.
That's where I was going. Tannehill is probably coming to town.
You never know. Or I mean, they're also in a good position where they could draft somebody. So
yep. And then we've already heard that Russell Wilson could be cut. That's always an option.
Oh yeah, Russ is available.
So,
man.
He could obviously he's not available yet, but I think that's an option, and that would be like one of the better options for that team. He hasn't obviously played well, but I think that would be much better, obviously, for Kenny Pickett, or better than, excuse me.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, totally.
Russ and the skill set of George Pickens. People are probably gonna get overly excited about that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the biggest news of the week. Offensive coordinator Brian Johnson to remain with the Lions.
You can't even. That's not even his right name.
You're too excited. You can't even get. Are the name out.
I didn't say Ben Johnson.
You said Brian.
Oh. Anyway, Ben Johnson is to remain with the Lions. Jeez Louise, good job, Ron. But yeah, it's huge for Goff. It's huge for the offense as a whole for us to be able to know what we should expect going into the season. I'm sure there's probably some addition and subtraction somewhere along the lines with something somewhere probably along Josh Reynolds. No, it doesn't have to do with the NFC Championship game, but I think they could look to upgrade at his spot.
Totally.
But yeah, other than that, it's still all wheels up for the Lions. We could lose our left guard into free agency, and Graham Glasgow wants a pay raise, but I believe, as long as Decker, Sewell, and Ragnow are along the offensive line, you can kind of plug and play those guards. I won't say easily, but it makes it easy.
Guards are not to say they're a dime a dozen, but they're easier replaceable than the tackles and centers are. So.
Totally, because they're gonna pick in the end of the first round, and that's a solid spot to get one of those guys.
So
draft
about 7 of those.
I think it's gonna be a lot of the same.
Every pick.
I think it's gonna be a lot of the same, but I think they upgrade at the wide receiver. I guess I want to call it the wide receiver 3 because I think JMO does. I think JMO does take a step forward next year. I don't think he's ever going to be what we all hope, but I do think he takes a step forward. So it's going to be like a wide receiver 2A and 2B, whoever slots into that. If they can go out and get, we talked about it last week. There are quite a few wide receivers that will probably be pretty cheap, maybe a little bit older, but could be pretty cheap. So I think they should go out and get one of those. Obviously, they have other areas that are a little more important. So just depending on how much money they want to spend on one of those. But clearly, Josh Reynolds, had a couple huge drops. So if they had, somebody a little bit better there, I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. They have $60 million in cap space as well.
That's pretty good.
This
not
season.
bad.
So yeah, not bad at all. So spend it wisely. That's all I ask.
Yep.
Anyway, the Eagles have hired Kellen Moore as their new offensive coordinator. How do you guys feel about this? You guys like this? You guys don't? You hate it? What do you think?
I don't hate it, but I don't think it's. I think a few years ago he was kind of the big name that everyone was talking about.
Yep.
I wasn't overly impressed with what happened in LA, even before Herbert got hired. Got injured. So I don't know. I don't know if I fully trust what he can do as a full-time coordinator.
Right.
I mean, Jalen Hurts, you kind of have to play around some of his skill set a little bit in terms of play calling. I think he's probably the worst passer that he's had been able to work with at quarterback, and they do have a good offensive line though, so maybe they'll just run the ball a lot, but we'll see.
So this, I was really disappointed with how it all went. Like, I'm not a big Chargers fan, but I do watch a little bit more because I'm here in LA. But
Sure.
I was really disappointed in how that all shook out. Obviously, there was an injury to Justin Herbert, but to me, I don't think Kellen Moore did anything well. Right? I thought he was going to maybe be the next, hot head coach coming out. Jeez, Ron.
My dog snuck down here.
But I think that the bigger issue in for the Eagles is like they just kind of are swapping in and out of coordinators, right? And I don't think there's much, nothing very fluid there, right? And I think I think I said it last week. The bigger issue, in my opinion, is the head coach, and then also I think Jalen Hurts has a little bit of maturing to do, because I think he's been kind of pushing back a little bit. So it will be, I think time will tell here. I think obviously they have a really good offensive line, like you said. I think their running game will still be good. I'm assuming Swift will come back. They have AJ Brown. They have good wide receivers. So it's kind of, we'll see. I think it's going to be a lot on Kellen Moore. He's got to do a much better job than he did this last year.
Definitely. Yeah, there were some odd things that kind of came out about Jalen Hurts, like right after they got eliminated, talking about him in the locker room being unapproachable and, just being stoic and not too much of a leader or a rah-rah guy. I don't know. It kind of all got swept under the rug pretty quickly as well.
That's kind of what I was alluding to with my him need to be a little more mature. He's got, like, the quarterback needs to be a leader for sure, right? They got to, they got to be behind their coordinator. They got to work together with the coordinator, and I think sometimes he wants to be the one that does everything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, when you look around at his peers across the league, and Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all these top tier quarterbacks, they seemingly do it all. And everybody always talks about the limitations of Jalen Hurts. So maybe he's pushing. Maybe he really wants to show that he belongs up top with everybody else.
Yeah, agreed.
Like
Brock Purdy.
Yeah. If only everybody could bounce a ball off a face mask. Good God. That image is burned into my mind forever. So the Seahawks. I'm sorry. Let me just talk about that play for one more second. You could play that play 100 more times, and it would not happen like that. 99 of them. God, that was so insane. Okay, Seahawks have hired Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald to be the head coach. He is now the youngest head coach in the NFL. He ran an awesome defense at Michigan. He ran an awesome defense for the Ravens this past year. With the youth, and do you guys think this is going to translate well into Seattle? We've seen younger coaches come in like Sean McVay and kind of be able to take over the locker room because they're kind of more relatable to the players at this point in time. Like, that's kind of the new revolution is you got to be relatable to the guys. You can't go in and be Bill Belichick and straight dictator. This is how we do it. This is the way. Let's go.
So for me, it's the concern isn't with his age. It's more about the concerns with defensive-minded guys. It depends on who they get as their offensive coordinator, right? So we've seen a lot of defensive-minded head coaches, they run a good defense, but they can't score a point, or they're too overbearing and they don't let their offensive staff, coach an aggressive offense, and they just kind of run the ball 3 times and punt. So I think that's really more they're going to try to bring the same kind of, Baltimore offense of just kind of running, play conservative, or are they going to actually
Kenneth
let
Walker,
someone?
maybe.
Well, which would be great for Kenneth Walker, but in terms of like Seattle actually doing well, I think it would behoove them to get a offensive coordinator who a little more bit of a modern offense.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think one, as you were talking, I think that came to my mind was Brandon Staley, right? He was, again, not the best head coach, defensive guy, except his defense was not actually really good. But I do think their defense will be really good. Right? I think that will translate pretty well. They have really good defensive players. Like in the notes I said, is the Legion of Boom coming back. I think it's totally possible. But as you alluded to already, I think the most important piece here is going to be the offensive coordinator, and also it's going to be if McDonald allows that offensive coordinator to do his job. Right? I think that's part of what, I don't know for sure, but I'm just kind of thinking it's possibly what happened in Los Angeles is Brandon Staley was kind of trying to be too much of a dictator and, not allowing Kellen Moore to just run the offense he would like to. I don't know for sure. That's just kind of like a hunch I have. But, I personally like this hire because I'm with you, Ron, as I think, the younger coaches are going to, be able to relate to the guys a little bit better. So I think the guys are going to, he'll have the locker room, and then they have 2 running backs that are really, really good. Right. So if they run the same, some type of offense as,
counting in my head. I got the 1 and then a half.
Yeah, that's where I was. I was like, they got to have a solid guy, and then they have Kenneth Walker. I don't know where you're getting to.
Like I said, and what like Spanky said, is the offensive coordinator is going to be a very key piece.
Definitely. I don't know if it's because of all the years of Pete Carroll and the Legion of Boom and all of his time and them being competitive for that, and kind of his entirety of being out there. But I just kind of trust the Seahawks are going to get it right. Even if it's only like at a mediocre level, like I trust them to at least be somewhere in the middle and in the mix all the time. We're not going to absolutely hate everything that happens here. We might not love it either, though.
Yep. Totally. Very tough. Definitely very tough conference though, or division.
Yeah, division.
Yeah, yeah, very tough with the Rams and the 49ers, and who knows what the Cardinals will be. They were scrappy all year.
Yeah.
Arizona always plays Seattle pretty tough. So
yep.
We got the Packers hiring Jeff Hafley as their defensive coordinator. Does this matter to us at all?
He ran a hell of a defense at Boston College, and he was at Ohio State before that. So he actually has been a really good college coordinator. I don't know how that translates to NFL, but we'll see. I mean, the Packers defense was a mess. So we'll see. Can't be worse.
Yeah, cannot be worse. Yeah, there were some games where their defense played okay. I think they have some solid pieces, but they need some help badly. So I'm hoping, I don't really have much of a care in there with the Packers or not, but I think this could be a good hire. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope he's terrible.
Very on brand.
Gotta stand for the brand. So you guys let's get into these prospects here. We got the cover boys, Jayden Daniels and Bo Nix. You're gonna hit it on Jayden Daniels first here. McSpanky, you got all the numbers.
Dude, I have some numbers here. So really I was kind of looking at so in this model, we're looking at what do they do when they were getting like pressured a lot. And Jayden Daniels, pretty good here. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my notes. 50% completion percentage under pressure, which isn't terrible. His adjusted when he is at 62.8%. So while he's pressured to 62.8% completion percentage, out of all the first round like draft picks, since 2017, that puts him about middle of the pack. So not overly great. The thing that he did excel at is his adjusted completion percentage on deep balls is insane. It's 69.1%, which is higher than anybody else that we've tracked since 2017. So Duke can huck it deep and pretty accurately. His attempts on deep balls, 22 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just unreal. The Duke can huck it. He's also athletic. He's a crazy athletic freak. Love me some Jayden Daniels. What do you guys got on this guy?
So I personally am a big fan. Like I was telling you guys before, I think I'm moving him above Drake May for me. Right. I have Caleb Williams firmly as 101. If I don't need a quarterback, obviously I might go Marvin Harrison, but we'll stick with the quarterbacks. So I think it really for me, I think this one kind of depends on where he lands, right? I was looking at a mock today, and I thought this one was really interesting. It was a Football Guys mock, and the Vikings had moved up, and they moved up to number 4, and they grabbed Jayden Daniels, which that one would be, I don't know for sure, right? So that obviously it's just a mock.
I'd be sweating over here. That would get me going.
Yeah, so
like
there's
immediately 102
there, and I think
even
for some people, but there, Atlanta, couple of those people would be a couple of those places would be really, really nice. There's a lot of teams at the top that need a quarterback, so I think I'm hoping he stays away from Washington. I don't think. I mean, they don't have a coach just yet, but personally, I just don't see them using his skills properly. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, he's had really good wide receivers last year he did at LSU, and then even at Arizona State, he still was a very good quarterback. So I think this will translate. Yeah, I think this will translate pretty well. So
I saw a highlight. I didn't know it. I saw it the other night. They're like Brandon Ayuk or Jayden Daniels or Brandon Ayuk with some deep touchdown.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
You mentioned Atlanta real quick. Zach Robinson was hired as their offensive coordinator. He came over from the Rams with Raheem Davis. Is Davis his last name?
Mm-hmm.
Morris.
Raheem Morris. Yeah, Morris. Thank you. He came over with Raheem. He's from that McVay Rams, so we're kind of wheels up for this offense. So that I think that would be very exciting, for those weapons for sure. And definitely if he went to the Vikings, I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, he returns. Jeez Louise.
I agree 100%. I would really like that. In this mock, just so we know, the Falcons move all the way up to number 1 and took Caleb Williams. So that's kind of where. So yeah, just a mock that I saw I was looking at today, and so but Falcons I would love. I'm hoping he stays away from New England, and Minnesota I would really like too. So
Minnesota.
Yeah, I really hope New England doesn't take any fantasy relevant pieces until some later rounds. Just build them trenches or something, dude. Like they kind of just need it everywhere.
Unfortunately, in this mock, Marvin Harrison Jr. went to New England. So.
Yeah.
I was gonna say New England's gonna take someone and they're gonna screw someone, right?
Yeah.
For me, all these quarterbacks, as long as they don't land in New England, I don't really care. Washington, just because it's a historically bad franchise, I don't really want any part of that too. But I don't think Daniels makes it out of past 14, which is where New Orleans picks.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, Chicago probably isn't taking him.
Man.
Washington, New England. The Giants, which could be interesting with Dayball, the Titans, Falcons, honestly the Jets, if they want to set them behind Aaron Rodgers for a year, would be fine. Vikings, Broncos, Raiders.
No way Aaron Rodgers is making that pick because he's the GM now, right? You guys saw all the stuff with the going on in the Jets organization? He pretty
I
much
saw,
runs the whole
but
thing. What a good trade for them.
I'm more interested in the rookie prospects right now. I just looked over it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm with you. I'm with you, Spanky. Like, I don't mind. There's only the two places that I already said, Washington and New England. Like, I don't really mind where Jayden Daniels goes. To me, he's gonna be like, I think he's gonna be pretty good. He's got the numbers. He's got the and I think he's got some rushing upside as well, which we haven't talked about just yet, right? And so, which is very good. But the one thing we always worry about with rushing quarterbacks is like how they play, right? Because we've seen Anthony Richardson got injured, and I think that's going to happen because it's how he plays, right? And so, but I think what'll happen is they mature and they learn, and so I think
he's built
really
like Lamar, and
Yeah.
Lamar has missed time and things of that nature, but he's kind of slippery like Lamar when Lamar runs as well.
Lamar's bigger than Jayden Daniels is. Jayden Daniels is a tiny boy.
I was going to say he's kind of small.
He's listed
I don't
at
know, they
6'4",
look-
210. He has the lowest BMI. If that's his actual height weight, he has the lowest BMI of like any quarterback that I've tracked since 2017. Not that it's like an end all be all, but it is a little concerning, especially because some of the scouting
hits he
reports I
takes,
read
man.
said that he takes far too many unnecessary hits, and it's like, well, if he's built, like a straw man, and he's taking unnecessary hits, like I know he played 2 years in the SEC at LSU, but like, man, if in the
some
NFL,
of those hits are brutal.
Some of those hits, like, you got to be careful.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my only concern with him. Like, I was looking at, so he has the rushing ability, Holler touched on. His passer rating this past year was tied with Joe Burrow with at a 143.7. I think a perfect score is like a 163 or 165. So, like, for that's a season long passer rating, which is one of the highest of any quarterbacks who's taken in the first round of the NFL. Obviously, the only one who had more rushing yards than him was Lamar. So, like, I mean, dude just, and we talked about his deep ball. And if you pull up any of his film, dude just hucks it, man. He's just slinging rainbows to everybody, and they're accurate. They're usually really good ball placement. Like,
it's that threat of the run, man. You take one step away, when they see Jayden Daniels, some DB is moving forward and thinking he's got to come up and run support, and that's all Malik Neighbors needs, man. There's just one step, the wrong way, and it's toast. I know you guys like Brian Thomas. I have my thoughts. We'll get to it some other point in time.
But Malik Neighbors, like, that's way different tiers for me. Like, I do like Brian Thomas, but
sure,
Malik
definitely
is way better. Yeah.
No.
So I think another thing is, like, he played extremely well against the SEC, right? And so, he like did way better than what anybody expected, won the Heisman. Like, he had a really, really good year. And so, like, I was looking at some things, and like before the season, he was going to be like a day 2 or 3 guy. And he's all the way in, like, probably, we were talking about how we don't think he's going to get past 12, but I don't think he gets past 10. I think worst case is going to move up and get him when they, like, if they need to, right? So I think he's locked for top 10. Maybe we can even say top 8. I could see him going in the top 4. Like, somebody jumps up and gets him.
Where is he in your rookie rankings for you guys?
I have him 103.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have a tier. It's the 101 through 104, and he's in that tier. I have him with Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Malik Neighbors. And I could honestly, depending on landing spots, I wouldn't fault anybody for taking any of those guys 101. Jayden Daniels is really intriguing to me. I know Caleb Williams has all the accolades, and he's been the guy for a couple of years now, but Jayden Daniels might have the highest ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I have a hard time with Caleb Williams. Part of me thinks, like, he kind of was like, whatever this year. He knew he was going into the NFL. He knew he was going to be the best the best quarterback. Like he knew he was the best quarterback. What I didn't like about it though is he should have shown it more. Right, he looked like he was disinterested a bit this year. Right, so I wasn't on the show and we talked about him, so I don't want to get into too much. But I think I agree with you, Spanky. I think Jayden Daniels has the more of a higher ceiling.
Yeah, so definitely with the rushing upside that Daniels can bring, especially from the fantasy aspect.
Yep.
I don't think I can put anybody. I can put Marvin Harrison equal to Caleb, but it's still going to go to Caleb just off of positional scarcity.
Yep.
But I couldn't fault anybody for taking Jayden with all that rushing, but I'm just more concerned. Like you guys are. Somebody described him as the Johnny Knoxville of quarterbacks. Just with the way he just throws his body out there. Just trash me, dude. Just destroy me. I mean, some of those hits are just like, dude, just like get down. You weren't running this dude over, I don't know if people take him by surprise or what.
I do think though.
Oh, go ahead.
All I was gonna say is I do think if he were to go to Atlanta or Minnesota, as we've seen but I think both of those coaching staffs would like do very well with he would do well with him. Like they teach him, and I think he would, I know, I know what's his name, Brian Kelly. He's a solid coach, but I don't. I know that I was kind of like, let me but I just think there's another level that Jayden Daniels needs to learn.
Yeah. So Jayden Daniels is awesome. I've seen a lot of comps to Lamar Jackson, and in his defense, I think it's just because of the running. He's a much better passer. Running. He's a much better passer than Lamar is. I just want to get that out of the way. Lamar can pass well enough to get by. Jayden Daniels is an actual good passer. He has good arm strength. He has good accuracy, good ball placement. And the threat of the run gets extra guys open. So if he goes to a system where I think honestly Atlanta would be really nice.
Yep.
But the one thing I've seen too is Vegas, which gets me really excited, just because Antonio Pierce was on the coaching staff at Arizona State, where Jayden Daniels was school originally. So there was a little bit of a connection there. So we'll see.
Hot gets you all hot and heavy, huh? I like it.
Yeah, they could move up from 13. I'm sure they got somebody they can just ship off. It's Mark. Yeah, Mark Davis. He's not afraid to make some moves at all, as we've seen.
Jayden Daniels feels like the perfect Raider to me. Just embodies that, chuck it deep, play fast,
just win, baby.
I
don't know. That's too good of a pick for you know what I mean, for Mark Davis. They always mess it up somehow.
Well, he's still gotta do it and perform. So
yeah, true.
Well, the thing that I can't even remember what I was gonna say about him. I don't know if it was a poor offensive line at LSU or just schematically, but there is a lot of probably look at read number one and I'm taking off and I'm gone. And I don't know if that's just faith in his legs and just getting it done. Just F it, I'm going to do it myself, or lack of other people getting open. And he's just, I don't know.
It was part of their offensive coordinator. So they're, I am blanking on his name. He just left LSU actually to go back to Notre Dame, but he runs a lot of those RPOs, those quick little reads. So, which is what Daniels did almost exclusively. So that is a bit of a knock. It's not a very pro-ready offense. I will say that. So it's very much a kind of read whatever the defense is doing, either huck it, hand it off, run yourself. Not a lot of progressions that he has gone through. So
definitely. Yep. But I think with the landing spots that we've kind of, with Minnesota and Atlanta, they have that rollout game that Sean McVay is, so popularized, and I think that would be perfect for him. He's on the move already, and the whole offense is flowing that way with him, to that side of the field, half field reads, make it easy for him, and just use your legs if it's not there for you. Do we want to get into Bo Nixian?
Let's do it. But I want to hear your thoughts on Bo Nix first, Ron.
Okay, so what I think about Bo Nix is a smart guy because he's played a ton of football. He's played on a ton of bad teams at Auburn, and then he comes over to Oregon and plays in the Pac-12, and I'm pretty staunchly against the Pac-12 defenses unless it's Utah. That's about it. And I didn't really overly like the Oregon tape. I just watched Troy Franklin the other night, so I got a little Bo Nix on it in on accident. Wasn't a huge fan of the offense. There's a lot of the bubble screens.
Yep.
Bo Nix is super athletic too. So I give him that. He can move around in the pocket. He can escape things. He can get out of there. But when he is on the move, I see him go across his body to the other side of the field. That ball winds up short. Okay, that's fine in the Pac-12 that you're going to do that. It's not going to work in the NFL. You're going to try to pull that off. I saw Franklin have to come back for more than a few deep balls that Bo Nix threw to him. I'm just concerned, is his arm strong enough for the NFL to do to play the way that he plays already, or is he going to have to adapt his game even more and just stay in that quick game, bubble screen slant, and just timing?
Okay, so those are all fair points. I think Bo Nix more so than Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams. So those two, I think they can fit and do whatever they need to do in any offense, right? I think they're wherever they go, they should be fine. Bo Nix very much needs to go somewhere where they have a good coaching, like offensive coaching staff and support system. Minnesota, for example, I think that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, that offensive tree is perfect for him. Honestly, even Denver with Sean Payton, I think it would fit Bo Nix great. Somewhere where, and I don't think like New England would draft him this high, but somewhere like that, I would be really worried. Somewhere, go ahead.
Yeah, I 100% agree. In the mock I sent you guys today, in the mock I was looking at, he was taken at, what is it here, 29 to New England, right? So, yeah, I don't love it, but if you pair him with Marvin Harrison Jr., but the thing is, he needs help, right? Like he needs to grow, and he needs, this is a hard comp, but I'm not going to use it as like what he looks like, but he needs to have a situation kind of like Brock Purdy, right? You just drop him in, and he has really good guys around him, and he can do what is needed of him. And I do think that he's going to need to continue those RPOs and those screens, unfortunately, right? And he needs to progress with his footwork. So I like Bo Nix, but I think for him, out of not all of them, but for him, where he goes is extremely, extremely important.
Coming in from like the analytics profile, he's hella accurate. He has, which is funny because if you've read like all the Senior Bowl,
he's not
the last 2 days.
It's the bubble screens, man. I'm telling you, the bubble screens are pumping that up.
He has the best adjusted completion percentage of any prospects since 2017, and the best adjusted completion percentage for passes between 10 and 19 yards of any quarterback since 2017 as well. So he also has the third highest. So when he's under pressure, his touchdown to interception ratio is 9-1, which is the third highest. He's only behind Joe Burrow and Caleb Williams, actually. So he has those are things where you can see, one, he's accurate, and two, he handles the blitz well, or when his offensive line hasn't done as well. Some of the concerns, though, you mentioned it, arm strength. I personally am in the camp that it's good enough to get by. It's not like a strong suit, but it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna hold him back necessarily.
Sure.
And then some of the things he does, sometimes he kind of hesitates a little bit, and he'll try to hold on to the ball to make a big play, whereas he needs to just get the ball out on time. And sometimes he kind of goes off script, which can be fine. I mean, Mahomes does that for a living, but He doesn't have the arm strength like Pat
It's a
Mahomes does,
little
right?
different
So
arm strength.
yeah, so he doesn't. And Mikael Williams kind of does that backyard ball too, and Nix can sometimes try to do that, but he doesn't quite have the physical tool set for that. So that's where coaching is really going to come into play for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the things I read about, like, one of his negatives was like once the first read breaks down, like his first target, he has a hard time like finding that second guy, right? So I think like you've said already, is like the short passes, the RPOs are his bread and butter. So he needs to go to a kind of more specific place that plays towards his strengths.
Does he go in the first round of the NFL draft?
Nope. I don't think it happens.
I think he does, because there is a lot of teams that need a quarterback. I think it could be a team that trades back into the end of the first.
Sure.
I don't think he's going to be a top 12. I don't even think a top 15 guy. I personally think it would be somebody coming back into the first, or, like, let me pull up. I don't know off the top of my head exactly who's at the end of the first, but it definitely would. I definitely think it'd be somebody that needs to trade back in and get him.
Basically, so from 21, or Pittsburgh at 20, Miami, Philly, Houston, Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa, Arizona, Buffalo, Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City, San Francisco. Pretty much 99% of those teams aren't looking for a quarterback. So I
could argue Tampa Bay. I mean, obviously they're probably going to go back to Baker, but I could make an argument there. So yeah, like exactly what I said is, I think it's somebody coming back in. Like with this mock, New England came back into the end of the first and traded with Detroit. So I think, right, I think it's going to be something like that for sure.
I think early too, just because that's where the teams are that mostly need the quarterbacks. I think that's where I would see him. And from what I've heard, people have a first round to a third round grade on him. Basically, everybody varies on where Bo Nix should be. And I think that 2 is that happy medium where you're kind of like, oh, okay, it seems like a good spot. We'll kind of see what he's got going on. The Will Levis, he was like one of the first couple picks in the second round, basically a first rounder at that point. And that's kind of where I feel like Bo Nix should fall.
Yep, I see that.
I can see that. The only thing I can think of is that I think it makes sense for teams to try to trade if the cost is there to trade into the back of the first round, so they get that 5th-year option. And if he is, their guy, they can get another cheap year to keep their Super Bowl window alive, quote unquote, if they think that they have one. But that's the thing. Like, I think he's a back end of the first round grade for me, at least. But you mentioned it; those teams, made the playoffs, and they pretty much already have their quarterback. So that's the concern there, right?
Exactly. Is once you're out of that top 10 and I don't think anybody's going to take him in the top 10, man.
No, I don't think so either.
Right. I don't think so either, but I think
Minnesota,
New Orleans
Denver,
at 14
Las Vegas.
New
Orleans. Yep.
That's probably the spot, or honestly, even Vegas at 13 or Denver at 12. If Sean Payton thinks that's his guy, those are the spots.
14.
Yeah. If he goes past there, it's going to have to be someone who trades in, unless Pittsburgh wants to take another shot at a quarterback at 20.
What about Seattle or Pittsburgh? Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Seattle's not a bad spot either, just because I don't think they're sold on Geno Smith necessarily. Although they did generally speaking, defensive coaches don't necessarily want a rookie. Although, Houston did it with DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. So
but I could also see them bringing. I don't know if Geno's still under contract. I should have looked, but I could see. I could see them getting Bo Nix and then having him.
It's succession.
Learn.
He doesn't. We don't see him for the first year.
Yep, and I think that could be good for him, right? I don't know if Geno's the right guy to learn from. I think I think he can take some things from Geno, but like I said, I still would like to see who their offensive coordinator before I say, oh, that's going to be a good team for him.
Definitely.
Geno is under contract. They do have an out this year, though.
Okay.
Yep. I agree with Alex here. Alex said that Bo Nix should go late first, early second. And yeah, I agree with the Broncos. I see that as well. They're talking about him, but I don't. Obviously, you
They've
never know.
also
But
met with
yeah, I saw you posted that today.
what's this kid's name?
But
The kid
I
out of
agree.
Tulane, maybe.
That is a massive reach.
Michael Pratt.
Yeah, they've spoken to Michael Pratt multiple times. Apparently, already. Denver has.
Pratt's a third round, a fourth round guy. I think, but I mean, I don't know, dude. We always have all these, best plans, and then we'll see. The one that I think is interesting is Washington. If they pass on a quarterback at 2, maybe they go like Marvin Harrison. They have 2 picks in the first 10 picks of the second round. They pick 36 and 40.
Washington.
I'm just saying.
I hope he doesn't go there.
That could be a spot. But honestly, though, if you get, depending on who the coach is, let's say they get Marvin Harrison to pair with Terry McLaurin, and then your boy Holler, Brian Robinson, and then you get Bo Nix. You get him some talent. Like that's not terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't want Marvin to have to compete with freaking Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson all day. Not that I think Jahan Dotson's anything special, but I think he'd be enough to take away some volume from Marvin, and Terry definitely is special enough to take volume away from Marvin.
It'd be crowded there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find another good spot for.
While we're here, where do you guys have Bo Nix in your quarterback ranking for? I mean, it's hard to know without landing spot, but just
probably for me, I think quarterback 4.
That's right. It's 4.
Yeah.
I have him at 3.
Wait, no, 5. I'm sorry, 5.
Who do you have above?
Who the hell do you have above him?
JJ?
Yeah. Because I'll have listen, people are gonna love him. I don't know why, but I'm just trying to be right, is all I'm trying to do.
In this mock here that I've been referencing, the Rams took JJ McCarthy at 19. Right,
I've seen that multiple times.
So I can see JJ going to a team like that already has a quarterback,
all the skill set, all that.
But I don't.
I'm with you.
I don't love it.
I don't get it either. But
I'm a Rams guy.
He didn't have to go to the Senior Bowl either.
Yeah.
What
do you mean?
So,
what do you mean have to go to the Senior Bowl? The Senior Bowl is a good place to go.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's a bad place, but some people are like, I need to go.
Tua and Herbert went, or at least Herbert did. I don't know if Tua went.
Yeah, Tua didn't go. I think Tua was hurt. Yeah, I think he had that. That wasn't the hip, was it?
So yes, to go back to your question, I firmly have him at 104, or not 104. Excuse me, QB4. Excuse me. QB4, and then JJ's at 5, and after that and Penix I think is 6.
Yeah, I have Bo Nix and Drake May basically tied in my rankings 3 and 4, but I'm assuming that Nix goes in the first round with that. If he falls out of the first, then obviously he's going to drop down to 4. JJ McCarthy's at 5, but I don't get it with McCarthy.
I don't either. I fell asleep watching the tape multiple times just because of the offense they run. But from what everybody says is he's got the tools. I've seen him do some athletic things for sure, and he definitely can run. But I think his decision making is a bit lackluster, and that's why they don't let him throw the ball very often at Michigan.
But so I think,
that's my opinion.
We don't need to talk about JJ McCarthy too much, but I think a team like the Rams with a really good coach would be super good for him, just like Bo Nix. Right. So they're kind of like I like Bo Nix more. I think he's a better quarterback than JJ, but it's those two guys are going to need to really go to a certain team that has a good coach.
There's also a huge age difference between the two and gameplay experience. McCarthy was a full-time starter for 2 years. Bo Nix has been starting since Cam Newton left Auburn.
Jeez.
That's not true. That's not true. It hasn't been that long.
He's been a starter since. He's been a college starter since 12.
You know what's funny though is people talk about Bo Nix and how old he is, but him and Jayden Daniels are in the same recruiting class.
Were they?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know.
They've both been, and they're 10 months apart. So they're not like
Well,
they're born in the same year.
old
Like
fart.
they're not. I know.
Yeah,
It's
Bo Nix
just-
is only. He's not like this really old guy. He's only 23. He'll be 24 and
if
next
he was
month.
a running back, it would be a little more concerning. But the fact that he's a
Sure.
quarterback, like it's not. I mean,
Not as old as Penix.
Penix
Guy's a
is
grandpa.
older, dude. Penix
Yeah.
is, dude. The more I see about Michael Penix, the less and less I like him.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Who was that super old quarter? Well, it wasn't Tannehill that was the super old quarterback that came out, was it?
Braden
There was
Weeden.
somebody. Yes, Brandon Whedon. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
That dude was like 27. Like no shit.
Didn't he
27
play
years
pro
old.
baseball before he went back to college and played football and then got drafted? That's
He might have. I just remember the Browns took him in the back of the first, and I was like, "Oh, there's
Oh, that's
There
right.
goes that.
The poor Browns. Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Brandon Whedon, we're kind of out in the weeds anyway. Haha.
yeah,
Zing.
it's gone
Anyway, you guys have anything else?
now.
Whedon was
Whedon was
28.
28. Wow.
Okay, I was gonna say he was old.
There's still hope for me at 35. So here we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Ron. You got it.
Does Ron have a first round grade?
Nope.
At
UDFA. I'm trying to get into that Lions tryout. You know what I mean? Just let me run down one time on a kickoff. It's all touchbacks anyway, Dan. Don't worry about it.
Put me in, coach. I will say, so JJ McCarthy, his adjusted completion percentage, his passer rating, his passer rating's not good. Some of his stuff is okay. A lot of it's just very meh, and like
It's a lot of
Some of
tools
the-
and projection, man.
but some of the stats too that aren't like volume based. It's just like, are you a good quarterback or not? Are just meh. So
Yeah.
yes, it's like his size. It's like they're.
Yep.
I think it's like an older way of thinking of like, oh, he's like 6'4" or whatever, and he's he has a good body frame and a good arm, but that's about where the comparisons stop.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
Yeah, I had some issues with this mock. I could one that really stuck out to me that I didn't like was Adonai Mitchell was in the first round at 24, which I totally
I'll
disagree
throw it
with.
out. It's trash.
Yeah,
Throw it
yeah.
out.
So I had some issues, but it was the one I looked at today, so I had it up still. There were
it's
some
great.
spots that I did like, So, but yeah, I do not like Adonai Mitchell, but. Like I said before, I think those two guys, both Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy, like it's where they go is extremely, extremely important.
Yes.
How many quarterbacks do you guys think go in the first round?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well,
I think 4.
who's your fourth? JJ?
McCarthy. Yes.
Mhm.
People love him.
I have. If I was a betting man, I would go 4, but I think maybe 5 because I think somebody comes back in the back end and gets Bo Nix.
I feel like 3 are for sure going, and then it just depends on if Nix or McCarthy also goes. I think Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May for sure are going, and those guys probably aren't leaving the top 10. And then it just really depends on Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy if any of them want to roll the dice.
Yep, 100% agree with that.
Yes.
I guess if I was a betting man, then I would go with 3. I would go
You are a betting
on
man.
4.
I've seen the bet slips, Holler. I've seen the bet slips.
If I was
That's right.
a betting man, like you didn't, put in, betting stat props on underdog. Yeah.
Quiet. Everyone's not supposed to know.
Is that legal in your state?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is here in
Oh,
Utah.
it wouldn't
so I
let
don't
me.
know.
It's amazing that it is in Utah. But I wish that Michigan would let me get back on an underdog. I don't know why we can't.
Why is that surprising in Utah? There's a lot of things legal in Utah.
There's tons of surprising things in Utah. That's for sure.
Like what, Ron?
Oh, just multiple wives, just LDS, just that whole. Just all
I think
that.
that's out. I think that's outdated.
Do you?
Is it?
Are you near any of that kind of stuff? Like where you are?
Near
Since
any
we're on
what
the
kind of
topic.
stuff?
Like
Multiple
All right, I
wives?
think-
No,
All right, let's
just
get back to
like
let's
any
get
of your
back to the
friends
2-minute
like
drive
into
here. I think it's we're
We need to take this to our Discord
To the-
chat, and we
to
can
the
have
DMs.
some conversations.
We
But
need to-
I
we
sent
need to
you
hit
guys
the
the
2-minute
DM that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, to any lasting thoughts, any parting wisdoms for anybody?
I think we went. We went too far. I think we got
you kind of stole my 2-minute drive with asking how many quarterbacks go in the first round. I was gonna say 4.
You're gonna say how many wives you have?
Definitely not. I live in California. Yeah,
California.
yeah. So yeah. So
Gorgeous goal.
I feel most comfortable with 3. I could see up to 5. Right, I could see there's a big drop off after McCarthy. I don't think Penix gets first round at all. I personally don't think JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix should go in the first round, but if they do, it's going to definitely be in the back end of the first.
Here's a hot take. I think Michael Pratt from Tulane goes before Michael Penix does.
I don't think that's too hot, to be honest. Like I think it's lukewarm, but that's fair.
Wow. Okay.
Hottie with a body.
Penix Penix is just
crap all over my
dropping by far. Like he's just
And he's the best one at the Senior Bowl right now, apparently.
I thought Spencer Rattler was. I've heard a lot about Spencer Rattler, by the way.
I have too. Yeah.
He's going to get drafted by somebody. They say that he's matured as well, and he does have the tools to do the thing. But
that feels like a Josh McDaniels special if he ends up anywhere.
I don't want to be rude about Spencer Rattler, but look at him and then look at Lord Voldemort and just tell me that you don't see it. Okay? Just look at their pictures next to each other and tell me you don't see it.
I see it.
So
we got some hard-hitting fantasy analysis now. We're comparing guys to Voldemort, Harry Potter.
I think it's time to get out of here.
All right, see you guys. Hit the buttons to get me out of here.
See you.